St. Patrick's Day is right around the corner here. And let me tell you something. I think I speak on behalf of about 99% of people who live in Northern Ireland, anywhere really. We don't really know what's going on with it. We just see it as an excuse to drink. So today we're going to be checking out why Americans celebrate St. Patrick's Day. I'm glad you're here. Before we jump in, ladies and gentlemen, I got to remind you, if you want to see more videos like this one, please do subscribe because the new YouTube algorithm is a fickle old thing. And if you want to see my videos on your homepage, you got to sub. So if you can do that, I'd appreciate it. Then let's jump in.
Because
Baby Lawrence.
St. Patrick's Day, that's not drink, that is Brute Aftershave. Actually, a very old bottle from 2009, but it is green. No, the actual drink I've been drinking is this one. It's Guinness, you all know.
Lawrence, I hope to God you aren't drinking that out of a bottle. I know I'm not going to see you take a sip out of that. That better be in a pint glass somewhere. That better be in just a glass. Don't think that's a pint. You better not be drinking Guinness out of a bottle.
Know it if you're familiar with it. You should be by now. It is, of
Please
course,
don't.
a very famous Irish drink that does the rounds at this time of year. Another thing, of course, that does the rounds at this time of year, green, just like the bottle, and gloves. And it does the rounds here in America, of course. St. Patrick's Day is wildly popular here as a sort of festivity. And I thought, in the spirit of that celebration, I would take a look at exactly why it is America does celebrate St. Patrick's Day. I recall my first visit to Boston in 2004. It just happened to be St. Patrick's Day at that point in time, and I was sort of blown away by the fact that it happened. I think at that point I was. I feel
like America probably do it better, man. I bet you guys literally celebrate St. Patrick's Day better than we do.
To American culture and the history.
You guys do everything better.
I'm going to rectify that today with the aid of Guinness. This video is not going to end well, is it?
Lawrence, you better not be drinking. He is drinking that out of the bottle, isn't he? Oh my.
So St. Patrick's Day.
Put that down.
Well, it's today, March 17th, of course, and it was originally conceived, of course, as a sort of celebration of the patron saint, or the main patron saint of Ireland. That would be St. Patrick. He is credited with bringing Christianity to Ireland in about the 5th century, I think, although St. Patrick's Day itself has not existed since then. St. Patrick's Day was turned into an official Christian feast day in the early 17th century, and of course is observed not only by the Catholic Church, but the Anglican Communion.
Can I just say, I should know a lot of this. I just don't, man.
The Eastern Orthodox Church and the Lutheran Church, and in its early days, those sort of St. Patrick's Day celebrations, as it were kept very much in-house. They weren't really a public affair like that you would see on the streets to this very day, not only in the United States, as I just said, but also England, Ireland, and many other countries where those denominations are indeed practiced. Now, I should state that here in the United States, unlike in Northern Ireland and Ireland, St. Patrick's Day is not a public holiday unless you live in Suffolk County, Massachusetts, where it was made a public holiday in the 1940s.
That's crazy.
To the Irish immigrant background.
That's insane.
That they have there. And speaking of Irish...
Wait, I'm pretty sure it's a public holiday now. Is it not? I don't think it is. It's not. I don't believe it. It's not even a bank holiday. That's crazy. I always thought it was, man.
Immigrants. We're going to get onto those here in just a moment because they're absolutely pivotal as to why St. Patrick's Day really took off in this country. But before we do that, let's take a look at precisely how prevalent...
Listen, man, be honest. The only reason people celebrate St. Patrick's Day is to get lit.
Patrick's Day is in the United States. So in 2018,
100%.
149 million people, that's almost half the country, said that they plan to celebrate it in some form, with 83% of those planning to wear green, like yours truly today. In that very same year,
it's a drinking holiday, man.
$1 was spent on St. Patrick's Day activities in the US alone. And of course, you have around the country, including here in Chicago, the dyeing of certain waterways. And by dyeing, I mean that with a Y, not to die.
You guys dye a whole ass river. What about the fish?
Of an ailment, but to dye it green, as we saw last year, and you can see this on Instagram today. And so it's huge. I mean, people go out and celebrate it massively here in Chicago. You see green and white buntings all up and down Wrigleyville, right next to the main baseball stadium there of the Cubs. And it's just...
Do any of you guys celebrate St. Patrick's Day? Have you got anything planned? Let me know below. Have you guys got any certain traditions you guys do every year? Let me know below. I'd love to read a few.
Just a wonderful atmosphere. It turns into that very celebratory atmosphere. A few people get drunk, and their complexions later match the clothes that they're wearing.
A few?
But it's all in good fun for the most part. The same is
until the next morning.
True in Boston. Like I said, I saw events taking place there in 2004. New York City. Savannah, Georgia goes absolutely mental for St. Patrick's Patriots Day. It has one of the largest outdoor activities outside of New York City in the United States. It was absolutely crazy. But why? Why are we all doing this? Why has the United States gone crazy for St. Patrick's Day, and how did that begin? Well, it begins with a tale of migrants. Did you know that in about 1601...
He's drinking it from the bottle, isn't he?
As early as 1601, the first, this is believed by historians,
spit in the face of Guinness.
The first public St. Patrick's Day celebrations happened in that very year in St. Augustine, Florida. This is unbelievable, right? This predates the migration of Irish settlers to the United States, because there was a Spanish settlement in St. Augustine, Spanish residents living there at the time, and they had an Irish vicar who apparently, and this is all documented, organised a party in the city streets to honour the feast day of Saint Patricio, or Saint Patrick, as we know him. And like I said, that was organised by an Irish vicar, but this was an isolated case. It wasn't really connected to the festivities that we enjoy to this very day. They came a little later. In fact, I would say over 100 years later, in the 18th century. Between 1717 and roughly 1775, about 250,000 Irish people moved from Ireland to the United States of America. Now, predominantly, these were Ulster Protestants in those early days in the 18th century that had moved from the Ulster plantation in Ireland over to the United States. And those Ulster Protestants, just to set the scene here, were settlers originally to Ireland from England, the Anglicans, and sort of Presbyterians. Presbyterians, by the way, is an anagram of Britney Spears. Look that one up. It's true. From Scotland, and they moved over to there. And, you know, it's often heard that the Scottish portion of those Ulster Protestants that moved over here, they're often referred to in the United States, particularly, as Scots-Irish. You might also hear the term Scotch-Irish occasionally. So, you know, 250,000 Irish, most of whom are these...
250,000 Irish on the way over.
Catholics, but they didn't really intermingle. They sort of moved to different areas of the United States at that time. And that Scots-Irish group, they predominantly moved to the southern part of Appalachia, or Appalachia, as you may pronounce it, in that region to this very day. And it's kind of key for a number of reasons that they did that, in terms of the kind of things I talk about on this channel. People that live in the Midwest...
History's a bit mad, isn't it? History's a bit crazy, man, when you really think about it. Like, how much shit has just happened in the past to lead up to where we are right now? It's just mental. Like, this whole St. Patrick's thing wouldn't be a thing if the 250,000 Irish people went over to America in the 1700s. It's just mad to think of how everything has like a domino effect. Right.
Live in the South. They
Crazy.
Often hear this pronunciation of the word wash or Washington as warsh and Washington. That's actually traced back by linguists to the Scots-Irish coming over here. They had ways of putting an R into words that didn't actually require it. And that's where they believe it comes from, is those Scotch-Irish settlers. I've had way too much of this and far way less of this when I'm trying to speak. And that group of people also gave rise to a lot of the music that came out of Appalachia as well. So they have that to thank. Just on a side note, never mind St. Patrick's Day. But yes, so you had all these Irish settlers move over, and they didn't just settle in southern Appalachia.
This is a really cool story. I like this.
Would later move in big numbers to the northeast. There were...
I know a lot of you guys do, but do you guys have like any Irish ancestors? You know, if you do, let me know in the comments box down below and where they're from. I'd love to see some.
A lot of sort of projects that were emerging at that time on things like canals and railroads and things of that nature that Irish settlers moved over to perform work on. That was in the early 19th century, the 1800s. So by that point, you already had well over 500,000 Irish people, people of Irish descent, that had moved here to the United States. That was big. But then something even bigger, of course, occurred in the 19th century, the middle of the 19th century, in Ireland that was, well, tragic, really, to the nation of Ireland.
Potato famine.
And that was the Irish famine. They estimate that somewhere between 1 million and 1.5 million people actually died during the famine. Some of them not from starvation, some of them, in fact, from disease. But, of course, a good number of them, about another 1.5 million, actually left the country for just the United States. I mean, there are other countries that they moved to, but the United States took about 1 million
we bring the disease over?
Irish people at that time, and that really, really substantially increased the numbers of Irish settlers in this very country.
Did we bring a disease
over?
In
the present day, or at least
Probably
as
did.
of 2015, Irish was listed as the fourth most common ancestry group in the United States of America. 33 million people self-reporting Irish ancestry.
33 million people have a little bit of Irish in them. Holy!
Now, on those reports, they only get to choose one thing, so they can't choose other ancestry groups. So it could be that there are more people than that, in fact, that have a little bit of Irish ancestry.
That's crazy.
Sometimes I think people like to claim Irish ancestry or ancestry of any other kind that may or may not be true, or maybe just down to 1%, and it's a lot of fun, isn't it? And because it's a lot of fun, I put out a similar poll to my YouTube followers, my Twitter followers, and my Patreon followers to see how many people who follow me think they have Irish ancestry. The numbers were quite warped compared to that survey from 2015 that was more scientific, let's be honest. But here on YouTube, we had almost 6,000 votes from You Fine People, and 60% of you said that you were US citizens with Irish ancestry. 35% said that you are US citizens but no Irish ancestry, and 5% of you said that you're not a US citizen. Similarly, over on Twitter, 52% of you, this is from 161 votes. I have fewer Twitter followers than YouTube followers. What can you do? 52% said that you were a US citizen with Irish ancestry. 30% said no Irish ancestry but US citizen, and 18% said not a US citizen. And then on
it's
Patreon,
all positive though.
63% of you said that yes, I'm a US citizen with Irish ancestry, and 37% said that there was no Irish ancestry but US citizenship, and none of you were non-US citizens. That could be because of Patreon's rules against that. I'm not sure. I haven't looked into it. But there you have it. So a good portion of you self-reported to me, since you had the option to do so.
That's actually wild. I didn't know it was that high.
That's good. That means hopefully this video will be of some
33
use
million.
But we're not done yet, because yes, we have all of these sort of Irish immigrants living in the United States. But does that really mean that we should be celebrating St. Patrick's Day? I mean, there's a big ocean in between Ireland and the United States. It could be that the idea of celebrating it got lost in the pond, right? Well, it turns out that the public celebrations of St. Patrick's Day, the like of which include things like parades, dyeing of the rivers green and things of that nature, actually originated in the United States. The first parade anyway, that's distinct from the one I mentioned in St. Augustine, which was less a parade and just a street party, was in New York City. And so shortly thereafter, in the same century indeed, you'd see other cities follow suit. So
we need to do more parades, I guess, man. Big, beautiful horses with like branches on their head. This seems like such a cooler theme.
Philadelphia, etc., etc., and it just really caught on. And then the rest of the world did it. It's not that America inherited this from Ireland. This was originated in the United States. The United States loves a party. It loves a parade.
You guys do, man.
Really, really caught on. And so really, when you ask the question, why does the United States celebrate St. Patrick's Day? The answer is quite obvious when you really think about it. I mean, I was aware that a number of Irish moved over here, but I didn't really put two and two together until the last sort of few years, delving deep into the history that we have arrived at today. And of course, it should be mentioned that it's largely not really a religious holiday anymore, at least a religious celebration. It is more just a celebration of Irish culture and all of that. So that's why I have, of course, this Guinness. That's why I have this.
That's not a that is not a Guinness. That is a disgrace, is what that is, Lawrence. That's not a drink. I reject this. Okay? I get that away from my face. That should not be in a bottle. Get that out and into a fucking glass, man.
Chicago hat. And it's why I'm dressed in green and red. I feel like I'm working in some sort of gas station right now. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just that you wouldn't want to mix this with gas.
By the way, I know you're supposed to drink this exact version out of a bottle. No, though. Please don't get it into a glass. Let it sit. Let it settle. Let the white foam go to the top. Let it just go so black. This ain't it, man. This ain't it.
Be set on fire. There's no science behind that. Have a great St. Patrick's Day.
Thank you. Thank you for watching, ladies and gentlemen. I do appreciate it. St. Patrick's Day is from the date of recording 7 days away. So again, let me know below if you guys got any traditions, what you guys get up to on that day. It'd be cool to read some of your guys' ideas and what you plan to do. But either way, make sure to like and subscribe before you leave today. I'd appreciate it a lot. Yeah. Goodbye.